introduce yourself.
Daniel Byrne, Public Information Officer with the Central City Fire Department.
Captain Darren Nowak, with Central City EMS.
Good morning, I'm David Fuller with Jasper Police Department. I'll be speaking on behalf of the law enforcement divisions.
Good morning, I'm Dawn Alford. I'm the PIO for Columbia State University.
Good morning, I'm Peter Walker. I'm a spokesman for the Greene County JIC Officer of Emergency Management.
Good morning, Arthur Kaplan with the Greene County Office of Emergency Management.
I'm Steve Elliott with the State Department of Transportation, helping out in Liberty County.
Good morning. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's good to see so many friends, and I would just say that as the spokesperson this morning, we are obviously monitoring and following the continuity plan set forth by City Secession for Central City. And quite frankly, we've witnessed the destruction over the entire city, county, and state, and with that, it's been really hard on a lot of us. So thank you for your patience. We know that there's a lot to do and a lot to recover from, but we are optimistic. And really, it's with every story of loss, we've seen a story that exemplifies heroism and compassion, and for that, it's really a beautiful thing. So with the heroism and compassion, our city is known for that, and the people of Liberty County are resilient and kind-hearted and continue to find ways to help each other. And our first responders are doing that as well. They are working hand in hand to ensure that we are focused on life safety first and foremost. Please understand that that is our first and foremost goal, that all the agencies and partners represented here today are continuing to monitor and look into ways that we can save lives, find lives, and put them out of harm's way. That being said, the response has been incredibly difficult, but our responders are doing amazing work. Our fire rep will also be able to touch briefly on any questions you may have, and we are very, very we're all recovering from a loss, and we ask that you would be mindful of that in your questions and sensitive to that as well. That being said, while this has been incredibly painful, even in the darkness, there are rays of light. And this morning I met a 78-year-old woman named Hattie Mae Smith, who I had not met yet, and her sweet dog, Liberty. And while she was forced to evacuate, and definitely shaken, most of her belongings were lost and likely will have to be recovered in some way. But she could not stop thanking the brave and compassionate men and women that rescued her. And that's just one story of many that encourage us as we continue to evacuate and find ways to put life safety in our first goal. So my team is really asking our great city to remain strong and follow official sources for current information. While this is a terrible time, we will build and recover, and we'll continue to find the rays of light in this dark time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you for questions. We do have a limited time on our agenda right now, as we will go back to life safety, so please be mindful of that, but we will take any questions at this time.
Sure, for service, I understood earlier that Mayor McDonald was going to be here. Could you explain why that hadn't happened?
Absolutely. At this time, we don't have contact with the mayor, but we are following the continuity plan and would like to brief the audience and the community.
You don't have contact with the mayor. When was the last time you spoke with the mayor?
I don't have that information at this time.
So who is in charge of the city right now if the mayor is unavailable?
The continuity plan is in process, and so the secession plan is as well. And so in the way we see it and the way that the city ordinance reads it is that it supports a continuity plan that follows the process for the next highest ranking city government official. And so that next highest ranking city government official is in contact with our JIC operator.
Is the mayor's home still standing from the 20th?
We don't have any confirmation that there's anything wrong with the mayor yet. We just don't know at this point. So if we do find out, if we were to find out that there was something that happened to the mayor, there is a succession plan in place, but right now we don't have any of that information.
And regarding your question on the home, we don't have information on the status of their home.
In his absence, who's running the response to this devastating event?
So in all normal operations, our EOC commander is in communication with the city officials, and the succession plan will be followed.
All right. What are your top priorities at this time? It's been a week of flooding, historic levels of flooding, followed now by 7 tornadoes throughout the area, building collapses and the like. Do you have a top 3 or 4 issues right now that are foremost in the response?
Absolutely. So I'll mention that briefly, and then I'll probably turn it over to our law enforcement and first responder teams as well. But life safety, life safety, life safety, life safety. Number 1 priority, number 4 priority, it's our top priority right now.
Which of those particular events are you putting the most resources into right now?
I'm going to turn that over to our first responders team to address what they're focusing on. Fire.
Good morning. On behalf of the Central City Fire Department, our personnel have been out in the community since the beginning of the storm, in constant contact with our citizens and residents, and our hearts are truly breaking. These are our citizens, our neighbors, our community. We're doing the best we can. We're pushing forward. Search and rescue efforts have expanded. We've got additional outside resources. State USAR has arrived on scene, and we're expanding. We're focusing on the most dense areas and most populated areas currently, and we'll expand outwards. We still have areas in the county we have not been able to reach just yet. We are asking our citizens, because our firefighters are out actively making rescues, to not go to the fire stations if you need help, to please call 911 or activate your fire alarm boxes as well. Our fire suppression abilities have been slightly compromised due to drops in the water pressure. We have addressed that. The National Guard and mutual aid communities from throughout the area are coming in with tankers and water supplies, so we are going to address that. We continue to make water rescues along the Warring River and other water areas, and we're progressing. Our crews are getting tired. Rehabilitation is needed, but we are addressing that as well with outside resources coming in. Also very important to note, we have confirmed water contamination due to the train derailment yesterday, and sulfuric acid has contaminated the waterways. We initially instituted a boil water policy. We are rescinding that. Sulfuric acid, if it's in the waterways and you boil it, can turn into a very toxic vapor. So we're asking the residents, do not in any way, shape, or form boil or consume tap water or any water from the rivers or local waterways. Again, we continue to push forward. Search and rescue is expanding. We'll continue to get the job done.
Do you have the resources that you need at this point? You mentioned that folks have been called in, but earlier this week we had the arrest of 12 firefighters, so obviously the local staffing is compromised. Now you have this huge event. Are you getting what you need?
Oh, certainly. A situation like this, even if fully staffed, would definitely task our personnel, and we've been working around the clock, and our personnel are getting wore out, and rehabilitation is needed. But we do have additional resources that are coming in the area through our mutual aid agreements with surrounding communities that are in action, as well as the National Guard and state USAR forces. So they are in the area, and we are.
Were those in place last night? Your 911 logs showed a number of calls that went without immediate response because there were no units available.
I do not have that information as to what time they're on scene. I know they are arriving now and being put in operation. At what time that they actually arrived on scene and started, I don't have that at this time.
Thank you.
In the back.
What is USAR?
USAR is urban search and rescue teams, specialized teams that are trained in collapse rescue, swift water rescue, airborne search and rescue, specifically trained at the state level, and they'll be coming to the area.
What should residents who are dealing with this aftermath themselves, whether their homes are standing or flattened, what should they be doing right now? What are you asking them to do?
Well, from a fire standpoint, we are asking residents do not get involved with any type of search and rescue because they're adding to the problem. If they do see an issue, to please call 911 or activate their alarm stations that are out in the neighborhood, but not to become actively involved. Don't burn yard debris. We understand there are some residents cleaning up their yards. We're asking them not to burn that yard debris, just to get it in the front of their house or leave it in the yard, and we'll deal with that once the storm is taken.
But if folks are unable to stay in their homes, either because they've been damaged or gone, where should they go? What should they be doing for help?
So I'm going to jump in on that real quick, and there's some maps, and you'll also have a digital copy of this as we leave this briefing through our news release that will go out simultaneously after we finish. And you'll see the resource centers, you'll also see fire stations that are applicable, and you'll see shelters as well. And so we urge people to do that. And if you are not able to go to these places personally, we ask you to call 911. Or if your communications are down, we also ask you to put out a red piece of fabric or something red identifier on your home that our urban search and rescue teams will be able to see.
Earlier this morning, there was a news release announcing a mandatory evacuation of the area immediately around the Roaring River. I'm assuming that's for the flooding, but now also perhaps for the contamination.
Yes.
When you say mandatory, what will you do if someone refuses to leave their home?
Well, I'm going to respond, and then I'm going to actually turn it over to our police department as well, our law enforcement reps. But this is for everybody's own safety, and because our priority is life safety, we will continue to pursue the goal. That being said, those living within 200 feet of the Roaring River line are in an evacuation zone, and 200 feet, consider it the size of, I mean, it's very, very close. I mean, someone help me out, that's less than a football field, correct? So think about it that way. If you can see the river, you probably ought to be considering ways to evacuate. And then law enforcement, if someone wants to speak about what it is that you guys are doing should people not evacuate.
Thank you. In dealing with evacuations, et cetera, and the plans that go into that, we're not going to drag people from their homes. We're going to strongly encourage them. We're going to educate them on the reasons why we're asking them to evacuate. If they don't choose to evacuate, we have to move on and move to the next person and help the next person out and continue on down the block and the next street, and et cetera, and et cetera. So we're going to strongly encourage that. We're going to try and get them to leave on their own volition. We're not going to drag them from their house and their belongings and things of that nature. However, if they do evacuate, go down to the store, go down that area is going to be sealed off and they're not going to be allowed back in. So if they do evacuate, then it's almost abandoned, for lack of a better term. We're just simply not going to allow them back in because of the resources. Our resources are stretched very, very thin. We're getting the job done. We're protecting our public, but we need help as well.
Obviously, it's early on, but do you have any idea how long it might be for those folks who have left their homes before they may have a chance to get back in and see whether their home is even still standing?
And we understand that. I mean, some of our own men and women have lost homes and things like that. We are going to let people back in at the earliest possible moment to assess that. But again, safety is paramount. We are certainly not going to let anybody back in until it's safe to do so. I can't give you a time frame at this point in time. It's not going to be any time today, I can tell you that.
Thank you.
And as we conclude this, I'm going to turn it over to our other reps so you guys have current information on where to refer people to find shelter information, Red Cross information. Please follow our official tags, and Dawn, if you would share that information as far as the taglines go for Facebook, Twitter, and all the other sources.
I certainly would love for everyone to go to Central County. That is the official location for all. Liberty County is the official handle for all of the emergency notifications. So that is the place to go. As far as Columbia State University, I really want to get information out to not only the local community, but to all of the families and friends of our students. I'm sure they're very concerned about them. We have not heard, as far as we are aware, everyone is safe. I looked on our website and we're seeing lots of photos from our students having fun in their dorms, or they're taking advantage of this time, but again, they're safe. If you are concerned you're not hearing from your loved one, we encourage you to go to safeandwell.com, and that is to be able to track anyone that is missing or you just need to track down, and that goes on beyond the university community. In addition to that? Oh.
Yeah, so in addition to that, we also encourage people that have lost communication digitally to find the resource centers. There will be bulletin board of information regarding water, resources, contact information, and official personnel, so we encourage you to do that. And if there's no other questions, I'd also like to turn it over to our friends in Greene County, so they'll be able to answer a few questions.